Welcome to WatchMinded, the channel where we don't just look at watches, we build them. If you're into Seiko modding and source your parts from AliExpress, you've probably noticed that some sellers offer watch cases, dials, and bracelets that cost 2-3 times more than others, even though the design looks very similar, or almost identical. And like you, I've always wondered, are the more expensive parts actually better? Or are we just paying more for the same thing? So today I decided to find out. Here I have 3 watch cases. One of them costs more than twice as much as the others. And I also ordered 4 dials, with some priced more than 3 times higher than the cheapest options. I'll show you everything up close: macro shots, finishing details, brushing, polishing, lume, and I'll share my honest thoughts. All the links to the parts I use are in the description, so you can check them for yourself. Let's start with the cases. I've actually used all 3 of these cases in previous watch builds. I'll leave links to those videos in the description if you'd like to see them in action. I chose this style for the comparison because it has more complex geometry and a mix of polished and brushed surfaces. But before we go deeper, try to guess which one costs more than twice as much as the others, and which one is the cheapest. I'll give you a moment. 3, 2, 1. Let's call the most expensive one Case A, the rose gold one Case B, and the cheapest one Case C. Case A and Case B share very similar dimensions. Both are 38 millimeters. From a distance, the only obvious difference is the rose gold finish. The rose gold case is also available in stainless steel color. Case C has a very similar overall style, but it's slightly smaller at 36 millimeters. Now, when we talk about quality, the first thing to check is finishing. How well the brushing and polishing are executed, and how sharp the transitions are between those surfaces. If we look closely at Case A and Case B, the metal shine is beautiful on both. The finishing quality is consistently high across almost the entire case. However, on the rose gold case, Case B, there is one small detail. On the lugs, the transition between the brushed and polished surfaces should be very sharp, but here, the line is softened. I would call it a flaw, but it's visible only from the very close perspective. Now, if we compare Case A and Case C, the most affordable option actually performs surprisingly well. Case C has sharp lines and clean transitions between surfaces. Honestly, for the price, it looks extremely good. If we move to the row, that's the inner metal ring between the crystal and the dial. The finishing is flawless on all 3 cases. No visible issues here. The case backs are slightly different. Some have a display window, some don't. But in terms of machining quality, all 3 are well made. The threads are clean, and you can screw and unscrew the case back smoothly without any problems. Now let's talk about the bracelets. At first glance, they look almost identical. Same 3-link style, same mix of brushed and polished surfaces, same overall design. If you just saw them on the wrist, you probably wouldn't immediately tell which one is more expensive. The most noticeable visual difference is actually the clasp. On Case A, the more expensive one, the clasp is slightly longer and feels a bit more substantial. On Case C, the budget version, the clasp is shorter and the connection is simpler. It's basically a bent piece of metal, not as refined in construction. Now, neither bracelet has quick micro adjustments, which would have been nice. But overall, the finishing quality on both is surprisingly good. The brushing is clean, the polished center links are well executed, and both bracelets use screws instead of pins, which is definitely a plus for resizing. And here are the ready watch builds. This is my most expensive Seiko mod. This one is the DIY Sports Luxury build. And this is the DIY Ladies Watch. I'll leave links to all the full assembly videos in the description if you'd like to see how they were built. Now, while assembling these watches, I didn't have any issues with any of the cases. The tolerances were good, the movements fit properly, the crowns aligned well, and overall, they were comfortable and easy to work with. If we talk about sound and tightness, let me shake them. You can hear that the cheaper one rattles a bit more. It's louder. Now, just for reference, I'll shake my Christopher Ward bracelet. And interestingly, it sits somewhere in the middle between these two AliExpress bracelets. So the premium case A bracelet feels tighter and more solid. The budget case C bracelet is a bit louder and slightly less refined, but honestly, for the price, it's still very respectable. When you look at these watches fully assembled, from a normal viewing distance, they all look very good. On the wrist, they look even better. Even the small finishing imperfection on the rose gold case is something you will never notice during daily wear. And when it comes to comfort, all three wear nicely on the wrist. There's no sharp edges, no uncomfortable spots, nothing that feels cheap once assembled. So the big question becomes, do those small macro-level differences really matter when the final result looks this good? Now let's move to the dials. For this comparison, I chose two pairs, Diver Style and Grand Seiko Style. Let's start with the Grand Seiko-inspired ones. I picked these specifically because of their complex texture and pattern. When a dial has this kind of detailed structure, that's where price differences should become more visible. And as you can see, the textures are not the same. The left dial has a more refined, even pattern. It reflects light beautifully and gives a stronger shine and contrast. The right dial has deeper, more aggressive brush strokes. Both dials use applied metal hour markers without lume, and both have a framed date window. At first glance, they look very similar, but when we look closer, the differences start to appear. On the premium dial, the print quality is sharper and more defined. On the budget version, the printing looks slightly softer. And it seems that the printed minute markers and the applied hour indices are just a tiny bit misaligned. Not dramatically, but enough to notice under macro. Another small detail, on the budget dial, I can see a bit of glue residue around the date window frame. Again, this is something you only notice under strong studio light and macro shots. In real life, on the wrist, you would never see it. Now here's the interesting part. The dial on the left costs more than 3 times as much as the one on the right. More than 3 times. So the question is that difference in finishing and printing really worth paying 3 times more? Now let's move to the second pair, the Diver Style dials. Here again, the price difference is significant, almost 3 times. The left dial has more shine. It feels a bit more festive, a bit more eye-catching. The right one is darker, more serious, more tool watch oriented. Honestly speaking, I personally prefer the darker style for my builds, but that's purely taste. When it comes to print quality, both are very good. Now, let's talk about the hour markers. On the dial A, they have a slightly yellow, maybe even a little greenish tone. On the dial B, they're pure white. And I actually prefer the pure white markers because it's much easier to match them with white watch hands. Finding hands with exactly the same yellow-green undertone can be tricky. However, the left dial does have one nice detail, a metal-framed date window. That small touch adds a bit more perceived value. Now, since these are diver-style dials, lume is very important. As you can see, the left dial has a beautiful blue lume. It's bright and very attractive. The right dial has green lume. It's slightly less intense, but still very solid and absolutely usable. And now, the prices. 3 times difference. So the question is, which one would you choose? Would you pay more for the metal date frame and stronger blue lume? Or would you go with the darker, more serious look and save 2/3 of the budget? So, what can we conclude from all of this? Under macro, you can see the difference, but on the wrist, in real life, that difference becomes much smaller. I have many budget cases and dials that look excellent once the watch is assembled and worn. Sometimes, you're paying for small details, precision, or simply a specific look. So now I'm curious, would you pay 2 or 3 times more for those small details you only notice under macro? Or would you save the money, knowing that on the wrist, the difference is barely noticeable? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching Watch-Minded. Hit the like button and subscribe for more builds. I'll see you in the next one.